Welcome to Business Breakthrough Show with Ted Miller III, where every single episode is hosted live to help you uncover a breakthrough to the single greatest challenge you have in getting your business to where you really want it to be. So call in, comment, or share. Now, here's your host, Ted Miller III.
Awesome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on where you're at around the world. My name is Ted Miller III. I'm your host for today's business breakthrough community session. And the topics you guys been emailing me today is, hey, how do we get new clients? We got a couple people looking at some model changes, new adjustments. Some people are in industries you might not understand. Others are like Greg in a classic real estate market that I think you can all comprehend. So we're going to go around the room and make sure we help everyone find profound breakthroughs. This is a big part of what we do here today. We're going to have a format where we're going to look at some strategic insight on some of these topics. And not only will I provide those, everyone else here has a wealth of knowledge to be able to share from their own personal experience. And then the famous hot seat. Don't worry, I promise we'll get to the hot seat. Someone's going to be able to get put in the hot seat, and we'll all dive in together to make sure we knock it out of the park. So, hey, George, welcome to our world again. Past client, you reminded me, you still like 5 or 6 years. I felt old. That doesn't go nearly as far back as Greg. I think Greg's got Rod beat out for original date and time. I look at some original handwritten notes. It's going back. And you were talking about some major changes because you've been certifying practitioners. Now, are the practitioners always doctors? Are they always chiropractors? Or does QN ever apply in other fields? Is it always, it's just anyone in AK?
Anyone, any doctor licensed to diagnose and physically hands-on treat patients.
So like a naturopath who's done applied kinesiology.
Correct.
Okay, great. All right.
Yeah, naturopaths, dentists, all medical, acupuncture, nurse practitioners.
And I imagine the niche of chiropractic is the biggest following you have because you're a chiropractor. Is that true or not true?
Correct.
But is that the biggest segment of your marketplace, by the way? Is that the biggest potential opportunity?
It's the one that's been most responsive so far. Because I know the community well and I speak in the community, but I think we have opportunities to go into other areas. And there's been changes in the physical therapy licensure thing in the last year or so.
State by state, yep.
That's a big possibility as well.
Yeah, I only bring that up because especially since we're looking at a looming recession in front of us, who you've done business with is not always a match of your ideal avatar. Those that, for Greg, he sells homes. There's better communities in all communities. He just happens to live in one of the two better communities. So, just to shoot it straight, because, Greg and I, we might not, I don't know where you came from. I don't know if you had a silver spoon in your mouth when you were a kid or not, Greg.
But, oh yeah, absolutely. My dad had a car at 5, I think.
When I was 5. You had a car, so you had a good. So not me. So I'm from the ghetto, but he and I now live in Portland, Oregon market, and pretty much you either live up here on the hill by me, or you live down by the Lake Oswego by Greg. And it's and then now there's an outcrop of uber wealthy people. They're like, no, that's too burby. So that's been West Lynn, or I don't know where those are. They like finding little nuggets up on lakes and rivers. But what I was saying was the most important thing for a growing business, people are using the word scale for growth. So let's just get clear. Growth, fast growth, we're talking about growing companies, is to learn how to acquire a client, but how to not just acquire any client, a profitable client. But there's a third element to that in a market that is sustainable. So I'm not projecting my experience onto you, George. It's just, I too had gone down that path. I had 7,000 of the 70,000 licensed chiropractors as clients. And I realized, oh shit, I'm done.
Right.
Now what? Like, now what are you going to do when you got, like, you've already ran your market? I was like, I got a lot more to do in life than just that. So riches and niches might be the limiting belief to justify us to like micro niche out to get some momentum, but we might lift up our head and realize for a road I've had the power of anticipation, we might need to be looking at new markets. So for you, you are looking for lowering the barrier of entry. So one of the biggest conundrums you had shared with me that you wanted to cover on today's breakthrough session is how to uncover ways to be able to sell in this virtual market, because COVID forced you to go virtual, and you seem to kind of love it. How do I can get courses online instead of them having to fly in to have me delivered in person? Because I think you said wear and tear in the body after 25 events a year. And then how do I also sell virtually? On track or off track?
On track. And we just started our live events, but we're doing them local. I'm not traveling to do my own personal events anymore.
Okay.
And so that's since COVID, we're just starting to do our first event in January. So.
Okay, fantabulous. Yeah, I saw that. I saw the 3 that were in your books when you sent the marketing materials over. Highly tactical marketing stuff, man. He just happens to be a client. Most people here probably aren't or have been at some point. It's he's paying to get personal coaching and mentorship, and boy, you're going to get hot seated heavily on the marketing piece. All right, and then but Greg, last time I saw you, we were sitting down having a meal together at a cafe. Like most of you guys don't get a chance to do that. I love George. I would do that in a heartbeat, but he's up by Malibu. It's a little too far to go grab the salad that we got. But with your real estate business, what do you see right now as your greatest challenge in getting that business closer to where you want it to be?
Yeah, it's interesting because when I got into the industry 6 months ago, I did like everybody. I found my friends, I called them up, saw who was out there, talked to them about what I was doing. Do you want to invest in me? Have anything coming by? And fortunately, because of where you and I have lived and what I've done as a restaurant guy my whole life, I have a lot of contacts.
Yeah, very gregarious guy, and easy to see success when you got the best bar in town. Like that's like free publicity. Oh, like everyone knew or the old the place, the bar, so like everyone would know it by name. So yeah, that's easy for you. But that's like insurance, right? Like you run out of moms and cousins and aunts and uncles and brothers at some point.
Oh, no question. And I'm from Buffalo and out of town like you. Yeah. So I don't have anybody here. It's just everybody. My sphere is my friendship and my contact group through the businesses. So now I've had to learn how to market my whole life. People have walked in my places. I haven't had to go walk to meet people, right? So that's the thing I've had to switch my thoughts.
Outbound marketing versus the inbound marketing.
Absolutely right. That's exactly.
I wonder if George has got that too. Like, you were speaking at other people's events. You didn't have to fill those freaking events, brother. Someone else filled those events. You showed up like a rock star and everyone edified the living shit out of you as the wise old man in the room, which is funny how your hair went gray real fast when we started calling you the wise old man. Maybe we need to get a new tagline, right? By the way, hair's growing back. Crazy. I told Rod at the beginning of this venture when I was taking Tony Robbins goo to see if my hair would grow back, I got to go get the little ones cut. They're too long now. So yeah, it's actually working. Harlequin, whatever the name is. It's a funny long name. But for you, same situation is that was an inside sales gig. They're a captured audience. They're in a room for many days. Why not hear from a guy that says, hey, you want to have something magical out of your practice, something that can allow you to differentiate yourself from every other practitioner? Check out QN. And then boom, right? So that's a pretty warm setup.
Yeah, the live events allows us to get a lot of communication out there and new possibilities where, now I'm down to doing 2 live events a year, Applied Kinesiology and another one where I speak publicly, but everything else is scaled back to online, Zoom, everything. So I don't have that feeder system that I used to have.
All right. Well, we got 2 different ways we're going to tackle these topics. Tactically, how to get more new clients, or we can talk strategically. So one's like, implementation, another one's a tactic. It's kind of like management and leadership. Peter Drucker, he said it, by the way, every great business consultant has a more obligation to quote him at least once. So I'm going to get this done. Check mark. Management is doing things right. Right. So we can talk about tactically how to get new clients right, or leadership doing the right things. So strategist is, a better approach. So would you guys rather look at have me share some strategic insight on go-to-market strategies, or maybe share stories how we tactically crack their code to get more new clients so we can handle? Which one feels more relevant? A little bit tactical how-to or strategic approach? What say you? I can go either way. You guys tell me.
Strategic for me.
All right, George, how about you?
Strategic.
Okay, so hands down, when you're in a place to where you don't have that warm market, one of the fastest ways I've seen to go create the new market is to find one that already exists. This is who already has the affinity of your most like-minded prospective buyer, meaning an avatar. An avatar could be my best ideal client is. So Greg, can you give me descriptions of your avatar real quick?
Yep.
Is it a
yeah, simple,
okay,
right? So in where I live in Lake Oswego in Mountain Park, I'm targeting specifically people that have owned their homes for 30 years and are looking to move to a single story retirement community. So they have unbelievable equity. If no loan at all, no mortgage at all, those are the ones I'm targeting. And those are the ones I've had the most success with.
Great. So that's his ideal avatar, right? So he at least knows what his avatar is. So we want to go target someone of that nature. Well, instead of you going to just spend all of your marketing dollars to acquire those new clients on your own efforts, another approach, which would be classically work smarter, not harder, is who already has the affinity with those people, who already knows, likes, and trusts them, or who is already going to do business with them because of a said condition. So it could be, financial advisors or attorneys might have great affinity with someone that fits his avatar. But because they're looking to move, well, who might they get to before they go to Greg, right? They, if they're looking to go into a retirement center so they don't have to climb the stairs because of their knees, or they need to have someone on site to help with the husband who's, needing care. Well, if you are in that state, like
physical therapist.
Well, physiotherapist, how about the place that actually they're going to move to? Right? Who is already getting the phone calls from someone saying, hey, yeah, I'm just calling to check out your facility, see if you guys have a spot. I heard you guys have a great hyperactive community. My mother's hyperactive, very active. And she wants to continue being active. So her biggest fear is getting locked into like a hospital type environment. The husband is mentally aware. He just physically can't get around as much. That's why we need nurses on site, and we can't be doing any stairs. So like that, when they're reaching out in that vulnerable state, that could be saying, hey, I'm going to be buying a place here, which means I'm going to be selling that place back there, making Greg a great opportunity. So it's just like, who already has the huddled masses?
Right.
Like, because Greg has been around some masters in his life. People have taught him how to sell. Now, traditionally, people don't see his business as a sales gig, but restaurants are nothing but sales. And oddly enough, it's more of a manufacturing facility than it is a retail facility, because, the best year you ever have might not be the best profitable year, because someone gets a little heavy handed with the amounts that are going out on the plates and the dinner. And you can have the best top line year with the worst bottom line year. And, but he's had some OGs, really smart people. I share some great distinctions with him. And, I'm going to hit you up for some of that guidance a little bit later, because you've told some great stories, but you've definitely learned, how to build great relations with people, and very gregarious. This matter of working smarter, not harder. I can't imagine there's no more than 100 in this immediate community in Portland that are going to serve people that have any degree of wealth into the latter care of their life. That makes sense. Like there's not that many friends you need to befriend.
Right.
Like your life, I mean, really, if all you did was make 3 new friends a day, every day for the next year, genuinely, honestly, no bullshit. If you just made 3 new friends that were upriver, meaning they're getting the attention of your avatar before they'd ever call the realtor, which means I'm moving away from my home. There, so much of their identity is tied to their home, but they're going to look for, hey, the new place we're going to move to first. Well, 3 a day, 365, like you're going to run, you're going to hit your 100 really fast. That's not long. 45 days. Now all you're going to do is loop back to those same 100 ideal centers of influence and be back in their space and their face and their place. It's not that often. So based on that numeric math, which is a little off, but let's just say he's a little lazy and he takes some time off, that gives him 45 days to cycle through 100.
Right.
That's it. All you got to do is be reaching out to 3 people a day. I mean, that's a pretty good lifestyle situation to do nothing but do what you do naturally. Just love on them because you're good about asking about them, where they're from. You know, we sat down with that lady, like you knew about that lady and that life and where she came from, like real fast. And not everyone has that. But when you sit down with someone who has that little juice, like he can find out something great from the server, but single-handedly us still judge the living daylights out of her because she only did a mediocre job because she came and visited us like twice, once to take the order or 3 times, second one to deliver food, 3rd time to take my money or our money. So, you know.
Yeah, I'll do business with her, but I won't hire her.
Yeah, exactly. So my point is that's one of the best strategies is finding those that already have the affinity.
Yep.
Now, you've both, or George has done that by speaking at their events, but now you're looking to go virtual. How can you get those people that once did all that work and get huddled masses into a seminar to then feed you clients on a regular basis? And I'm going to tell you, don't ask for the JV deal because that's going to just say, hey, what I really want you to do is my salesman for me. No. Find a way to add value first, meaning, George, you don't want all of their database because their database could be 75% of them could be broke as a joke people, right? And that might not be your avatar.
Right.
So, or they really need you, but maybe you don't do good with need yous. Maybe you do good with those that choose to have QN. Like I need QN to survive in my practice. Instead, it's like, I'm doing well. But I want to be an excellent, I want to be known as one of the best doctors. I want to make the biggest impact in people's lives. I'm sick of them coming back with the same problem again and again and again. Maybe that's what you're after. Well, then how do you bolt yourself on to an offering they're already selling? Meaning they had sold someone to get to that seminar. So, but that was in person. Well, now that you're doing this virtual thing, don't ask them to go promote your free webinar to then just go sell your multi-$1,000 event. Bolt yourself on to those that are spending thousands with them in their programs already and say, hey, I'm not looking for JVs. JVs are people that just promote each other. I'm looking for strategic partners, people that I respect in the space of healing. And you're one of them. You're one of my 100 people I really respect. And what I'd like to do is find a way where I could add more value to all your clients, regardless if they ever do business with me. I'd love to at least share things that have radically transformed a lot of practitioners, let alone my own wife's life, like the literal thing that saved her life. Let me at least add some kind of value, because that's his backdrop story, by the way. He initiated this entire new methodology to save his wife. And so, by the way, Lori's alive and well, right? You can tell everyone she might walk by in the background, right?
Yeah, I think you just open and close the door there.
Yeah. But that's a great approach, is to bolt yourself on, because you could spend the next year or two chasing down client acquisition strategies, which is, hey, promote me. Let's do the referral game. No one wants to be your salesman. Doctors aren't going to want to get spiffed out for that either, because then you got a lot of law issues. You got a lot of legal issues, right? Not everyone's going to be even comfortable with it if it is even legal to do, because it is a training institute. Doesn't matter. Like, if you just find a way to add value to the world. and bolt it on. So we did that with, so we partnered with Tony Robbins. What's he want? He wants butts in his seats at his seminars. Well, we have a virtual business model, right? So we were only selling things virtually. And that's where Greg, it was BMT. I was just reminded, I looked up your old email address and it was not even 3.0, I think. I think it was Business Book Master Series 2.0.
It was OG.
Yeah, it goes back. It's not VHS, it did. I just happened to look. I had you in my database twice today. So I merged you and I looked out of curiosity and I scrolled to the bottom of my tags and it said BGM, not 2.0, not 3.0. I'm like, oh, that goes back, right? That's really back. Could be 03, 04, maybe. I don't even know. I'll have to look up the date. But by 08, we partnered with Tony. He's doing live seminars. And like, how do we take care of each other? Well, simple. He doesn't want all of the people that are interested in growing their business like that. We get that, right? Now, our avatar, by the way, is a 60-year-old man, just had birthday hit the 0. They're looking back at their life and they're like, for the last 10 years, I've been building this business. And, the dream was always, hey, I'm going to work really hard now so I can take time to be with the kids or their grandkids or the wife and the travel, right? But the conundrum is they get stuck at a certain revenue amount, typically $10 million of revenue, and they're hungry to want to make a bigger impact, but they're not interested in doubling down on their time because the wife is already up in their grill about, hey, you're working too much as is. Where's this quality of life thing? So all it takes is a little COVID. All it takes is a medical emergency. All you need is any kind of mild trauma in your life. And you guys that avatar of mine is reevaluating. Wait a minute. What am I doing with this business? Am I even doing the right thing? So that's our people, right? Well, Tony doesn't want all those people because 67% of my buyers are not my avatar. We've got to remember that the avatar is who we best serve, but often we're going to attract those that want to be like our avatar because we're using language that addresses and speaks to and resonates with our avatar. But if they want to be like that someday, they're going to be responding and purchasing your programs. Tony didn't want that because, it takes 10 grand to go to his Date with Destiny. It takes 10 grand to buy his university program. So instead, we bolted on later when we started selling this program, when they'd spend $5 grand for that home study program at the time, that had some coaching involved with it. We gave a ticket to his cornerstone event called Unleash the Power Within. And now we're funneling our best buyers to Tony's world. And our best buyers, which are business owners, are exponentially more likely to keep buying all of his other programs because they can afford it. Versus the guy sleeping on the couch. Someday, honey, I'm going to grow up and, move out of, we're going to move out of my mommy's basement and we'll start our family together. You know what I mean? That could be a well-intended human being, but less likely to spend $250,000 on his platinum program or, $10,000 on Date with Destiny, let alone the one we had financial vested interest, which was called Business Mastery. And that too was 10 grand. So do you guys get the journey on this? Like, who's already out there doing all that sweat equity? It was not easy for us to acquire clients to do that. It was not easy to find Greg. It's not easy to do that stuff. We were spending 22 grand a week on radio ads, I think is maybe how originally got a response from some of you. That was a lot of work. So many people we had to connect to and communicate with just to find our better buyers. If you can just go the other way around and bolt yourself on as a value add, because when I went to go sell this, I had an opportunity to say, hey, yay, here's what I'm going to do for you. Pay in full. I'll give you tickets to Tony Robbins events. So they can do the payment plan, which is no harm, no foul. But if you pay in full, which means, right, less likely we're going to have to chase down bad debt, like, blah, 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 we'd give them a free ticket. Now, Tony doesn't even have to worry about the schmucks that are trying to do payment deals, right? So the best of the best of the best are only getting sent over. Find a way to negotiate yourself into those deals by finding a way to add value to all their audience, regardless if they spend money with you or not. That makes sense? You're adding value first. You're not asking for a referral, which means I'm not asking you to be my salesperson, right? And you've already had the huddled masses. You know, the avatar is in the room. The avatar is on the phone or on the Zoom or whatever it is you guys do to thin the herd. Thin the herd is like thinning of the herd. Like there's a hurt in your business. It's usually in marketing and sales activities. And when you're not been paying that price to crack your code, knowing what words need to come out of your mouth to have people lined up to come in your world for free to next to free on a regular basis, called marketing. So you can then translate that into a sales activity. Well, then one of the best things to do is find those strategic partners. Who's got some Hey Ted questions about the strategic partner stuff? Because you know that's super strategy stuff. That's a fast growth strategy, fastest one of them all. George, you got a question? Rod, you got something to add? Greg, you got a question?
Yeah, I'll say that I've been doing strategic relationships with people, and more like we'll do a podcast together, getting the communities to know each other kind of thing.
And don't get me wrong, that is important, yet that's still a sales pitch, right?
Right.
I got my book. Like that's what everyone does on a podcast. You know, right. I know it's like, I know what you're really doing. You're interviewing that person because you're really promoting their shit. And at the end, it's usually buy my free thing, buy my next to free thing, buy my book, or go follow me on Facebook or my YouTube channel. Like that's what I'm developing now. I'm focused on my YouTube channel. So I'm posting up this material people can watch later. It's going to be on YouTube. But, right. Well, and what else? So keep going. I'm doing the interviews and...
not doing a JV type situation, more of a respectful referring back and forth of commonality, wanting the entire industry to rise instead of, trying to go back and forth that way. But I don't have any other thing other than people say, oh, I want to do seminars with you. And I really want to limit how much I'm traveling. I'm willing to do it for a certain amount of people and stuff, but how else could I do the
stop doing the pimp for the referral? First of all, is just only doing the referrals. I'm casually referring to you. That means quid pro quo. That means, George, you have to be sending him or her as many leads or paying clients as they're sending you. And the number of people you need to build your business is much higher than you have to give out. Right. So that's not going to be the thing that's going to best serve you. Like watch that, because that quid pro quo game is like, watch them stop sending you clients the second you've yet to send them one in return. That's a mismanaged degree of expectations. So like bolt yourself onto the thing they sell, like whatever it is they sell, bolt your gift onto. Like, I don't know what you can do, but maybe do a virtual, like you have an entire course, but I bet you have an intro too, like something that's of extreme value. It's like the best thing you have to offer that you can give away is it called a lost leader? Like, Greg, what was the lost leader you've used in restaurants before? Like, you're not going to make any money. What would that be?
Yeah, it was just buying someone a appetizer when I knew they were a first-time customer.
Okay, great. So everyone knows when they go to Greg's restaurant, like he gives away appetizers. Oh my God, you got to go to blah, blah, blahs, because every time you're like, oh, you're new there, he'll buy you an appetizer. But he knows you're going to just like, oh, I get an appetizer? Great. Gin and tonic, and like, boom, because that's the profit margins in the liquor. So it's like, lose it. So, but find a way that it's extremely valuable, but because of where you are and what you're doing, it doesn't cost as much. Buying someone a meal is one of the least expensive things a restaurant could do. So it's a more advantageous thing to do. That's why sometimes it gets played out too much and feels trite. So that's why you got to pay attention to doing a lot, think of some kind of lost leader that you can bolt onto their buyers, but they can't get it and no one else gets it unless, you know what I mean? Like, now you're affiliates. Now they say they want to speak with you. Well, then you have a criteria. Hey, because of where I'm at, and frankly, what's happened to my health, I'm limiting the number of seminars I'm doing. So really, since we want to elevate those up, you know, the old saying here in our practice is that rising tides floats all ships. That's a lie. Rising tides do not float all ships. You know, there are plenty of people out there that their boat's going to sink because they have a hole in it. So what I'm doing is I'm responding to those that float the highest. So those that send me the most number of new clients are making the biggest impact into society. I'll make a bigger impact on this planet by working with those movers and shakers. So if you're proven to be one of those movers and shakers, I'll come to your event. So now you are going to go do a co-event if that's what you really want to do, but you only want to do 2 or 3 of them a year. So you only go to your top 2 or 3 best referral partners. That makes sense?
Yes.
Like I needed not clients. I needed help with my onboarding my salespeople. We had cracked our marketing code, but 12,000 people calling in every single month, George, at 5,000 people going into voicemail. So I got 8,500 people going to voicemail that aren't getting called. I need to hire more salespeople. So what I did is I went to someone else who is respected for training salespeople. His name is John Assaraf. You might have seen him originally in The Secret. He had this, you put Secret on the board, the vision boards, the vision board thing. And from the vision board, he helped facilitate that. That was great. He came over and we all thought he was going to be talking about manifestations and vision boards. No, that guy was talking about quantum entanglement, you know, you know, the way that the brain is firing in the myelin. And he went to a place that none of us expected. And my team loved it. Why? Because you can't be a prop in your hometown. So we just went and I you know, myself and Chet, we went to his events. Gino spoke at his events for his staff. They all thought we were rock stars. Why? Because we weren't him. Like, you know what I mean? They hear him every week, like blah, blah, blah. Boss is going to tell us what to do again. But they hear it from me. They're like, well, oh my gosh, they're taking notes. Like, it's the best thing that I've ever heard. I'm like, well, I got it from John, but I'm not going to say that in his training because then they were like, I ain't going to do it. And the best story that I heard on that was I was at John Assaraf's home. I noticed a painting on the wall. I was like, hey man, that's Spar Street. He's like, yeah, Spar used to live there. And he pointed out to the pool. I was like, he used to live where? He goes, the pool house. I was like, of course, that's so Spar. And I was like, and I mentioned Shanti, his daughter's name. And he goes, Shanti was conceived right there. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Started texting him and I was like, Spar, look where I'm at. And make a long story short, I tell him the story. I go, first time I ever did a vision board, I didn't really comprehend that. I wasn't really given instructions. I was at this thing called NET Success. I just did it. And I go, but everything on that freaking vision board, which I have in my closet, I could pull out and prove, it's like, has come to fruition. And I go, I just think that's really cool. You help bring that to public's awareness. And he goes, let me tell you about it. He goes, you know, never profit in your hometown. He goes, my son comes home one day and he goes, Dad, we got to do vision boards. And he's thinking, finally, my son's listening. He goes, what do you mean vision boards? He goes, well, the neighbor, the homie I'm rolling with, Johnny. Yeah. So Johnny's dad told me about this thing. Like John's known as like the guy that brought that to people's awareness. And his son like did a backflip because his buddy down the street's dad said he should do it. I was like, oh man, what a rub. What a rub. But it's such a true fun story. You know, it's like that's how that unfolds. So I'm just kind of curious, like who do you think could fit in your guys's centers of influence better than JV partners and affiliates? But who could be a good strategic partner for you? Like Greg, since we mentioned that, has something popped in your mind? Like who do you think already has some justifiable reason to be in business with your avatars already?
Yeah, actually, insurance people that I know, and I know quite a few of them. And because they're all insured, they're either doing Medicare Plus or doing some other things. So these folks are always in contact with them. Much more than we would be at my age or younger ages.
Yep.
So these folks would be great contacts for me to reach out to and partner with them, right? Because I can bring people to them.
When you do that partnership, what do you think is the thing you can add value to his world? Right? Like we've got to become, sometimes we want to befriend someone. We got to find a way to be an expert in their space. Like the realtor can't come across saying, hey, let me talk about real estate, because that's just you pitching and no one wants to hear you sell shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, actually, what I do is when I'm selling a house to someone, what I've done is a few first-time home buyers, right? And these folks don't know anything about home insurance. They don't, and they don't know how to log it in with car insurance. So I'm contacting and hooking them up immediately before even asking for anything or even doing it. All I'm doing is, like you said, I'm giving somebody value before anything. And if they can help me, by all means, please do.
Could you trade above your pay grade?
Oh God, yeah.
Meaning, then what if you stop referring to, my guy, Bob Miller, great guy, but he's not the biggest insurance agent in town, right? Like, we had a water damage in my garage. Come to find out, my insurance is useless because I got like $25,000 some kind of thing. So it was like, it didn't matter that the plumber went in, screwed stuff up and caused the water damage. It's all coming out of my pocket. So we just paid that dude. Just yesterday, there was $15,000 went out to a dude that just did the plaster and painting bit. So it's like, my point is, who's the you said the word OG, who's that like top of mind awareness in like Oswego? Like, that's what we did, like partner with Tony Robbins, partner with Jay Abraham, partner with Jay Levinson. Like, I went above my pay grade and I said, who's already established relationships and already has credibility? Because back then I was just some young punk on the scene trying to make a splash. I was ready to change the world, but no one wants to hear it from that kid yet. Right. No, so I just found someone who was 10 years ahead of me. At least Jay Levinson was obviously more than 10 years ahead of me. Well, my point is, I found someone 10 years ahead of me that already made their splash and I brought more value to the thing. So I wonder, like, who's the top? You might not even do a Dream 100. What if you just did a Dream 10? Yeah. And target the top 10 insurance agencies.
Yeah, it's funny enough. I know a few in Lake Oswego before I ever moved here.
Well, text me so I can maybe refer you to the one I'm thinking of. The best boat I've ever went fishing on was this guy's boat. I won't say his name. This is the fastest I ever drove my Cayenne. Was make a long story short, I had to get Astoria fast, and from where I live, I made it to Astoria in 45 minutes.
Yep, 26.
Might have been going 140 something.
Oh my God.
And, I got there in time and I made it to the boat and I was like, this is a boat. Like, I want to explain to you guys a boat. I grew up on Lake Michigan. We're broke as a joke. We go fishing. It's the tin can. You're going out. No, I'm like this. Muffy, dear. Does anyone want, I'm going to go make a latte. Does anyone want a cappuccino or latte? Cappuccino latte? Do you want me to make, you want a muffin while I go down for that? So I go downstairs, made a freaking, latte. I'm like, muffins? Yes? No? Cinnamon roll? Cinnamon roll? Cinnamon roll? Okay, I'll pop those in the oven. Give me a minute. That's how we were rolling. It was that kind of fishing boat.
Nice.
I was like, ah. And I was like, so this is your insurance company? He's like, yeah. I was like, so insurance companies got it. And George, how about you? Like, who do you think has the greatest influence of people? Because like, if you try to do the quid pro quo game, like if I haven't beaten that drum enough, like watch it, they'll chew you up and spit you out. Because what have you done for me lately is the way that comes across when you're doing the quid pro quo. But you can just be identified as the absolute biggest and best. Right? That you can just declare yourself as the absolute best and warrant it. Like, the best thing I ever saw Jay Abraham do was we did an event. He didn't want any money. First event we ever had with Tony Robbins. He had one condition to speak. And he goes, what's that? I want to be not just known as, I want you to be introduced as the absolute best in the room. So, posturing as the absolute best. And I want the best center of influence here. Who's speaking? We give all the names. He goes, well, no one's bigger than Tony. So I want Tony Robbins to introduce me. I want to have a say of what that introduction is. You guys aren't going to pay me a dime. I just want Tony to introduce me and have him call me the greatest. Then I'll come up on stage and speak. Now, my insecurity allowed me to just call him arrogant and judge him a little bit for it. And glad that he did it. But since then, I've stopped and realized what ninja shit that really was. It was so amazing. No one, if you want to have the most amount of money, you don't spend it with anyone. You don't even spend it with Tony. Because Tony said even better than him is this Jay guy. So if you got the most money, you have the best intent, the greatest opportunities, go give a piece of your company away to this other guy because everyone in the room said he's the best. Oh, so amazing. And frankly, George, you have an opportunity to do that. So who already has the greatest infinity that is doing the best work, gathering your most ideal avatars that you can partner with? What's going on in your mind? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's other neurology communities that I work with some of the doctors, but not with the leaders of the community itself.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a possibility. I've been working with, the names, applied kinesiology, NET, contact reflex analysis, and many other techniques out there, going to their events, meeting their community firsthand, and adding value to their community, not only sitting there. I don't hand out cards at these events. I go
well,
there.
yeah, your salesmanship is pretty weak. You could do a better job at letting them know how you could better help them.
Right.
Because I think you've been shooting fish in a barrel, if I can maybe speak out of turn, because when you're speaking at events like that, you don't have to pass out cards. They're all going to just be in that room with you. They have nowhere else to go. Like when I first met you, we were all in Florida. No one's from Disney World. The closest guy that was there was from
Georgia, probably.
No, he was an hour or two. He told me exactly where he lived. He brought his daughter, his wife, the office manager, and himself. And I think he might have became one of your clients or not. I don't know. I remember, I think it was 50. But anyhow, that was like 2-hour drive for him. So no one lived there. So we're all like captured audience. We weren't going anywhere. So I just wonder what you could do to like get a good partnership going and just bolt yourself right into that. And whoever those biggest names are in those spaces, go make those friends real fast. And, see what that could look like real quickly. But again, make sure you're not coming out of the gate with, like I was saying with Greg saying real estate, anything. Oh, he's a sales guy, just trying to sales gig. Like you might have to become an expert beyond the subject matter that you're an expert in. You might need to become an expert in understanding what's the thing that keeps up. What space did you say you're into now? New laws just passed in what? Physical therapy, was it? PT?
Right. Physical
okay.
therapy.
You might need to suddenly understand PT's world so much that you understand like deeply, compassionately what keeps him up at night. So you dive in on that and you can speak intelligently. The biggest mistake you're going to make building your PT practice, what they are and how to avoid them. Like you're going to be able to address the thing that already keeps them up because there's what they want and what they need. So you're going to hook them by giving them what they know they want, which is they have a problem they cannot resolve without you, period. You need to speak to that. The single greatest problem they have that they cannot solve without you. And then you get to bring in what they need, which is set a buying criteria in your favor for your unique, product or service. You educate around the need for. So in Greg's case, it's, he might be speaking to insurance agents, talking about whatever. I don't know what their insurance problems are. Maybe retaining great talent in the midst of what's going on. I don't know. Whatever it is, and he's talking about talent, but he somewhere needs to talk to why the best damn thing they could ever do is something to do with real estate or whatever his unique selling proposition is. Right? Find a way to bolt that in. But make that list. You got a Dream 100 list. Do you do specific things? Like, do you have favorites next to your contact list on your iPhone? Of your top 100?
No.
Like that's, Robert Allen showed me that. He goes, he goes, you know how to do favorites on your contacts? He goes, no, he goes, you got to go list your top 100. He goes, you're up here. I'm at his mansion. Mind you, not my house, 4,000 square foot house here. And like, I was bragging. I was like, you either live by Greg or me, but it's not like there's another layer of money. Like he's in Rancho Santa Fe, California, gated community in a 14,000 square foot home. When he said, I gave my wife an unlimited budget, she found a way to exceed it. That kind of place. And like when I stayed at his house, I had a whole wing to myself. Like never had to worry about running into them in my underwear because it was a separate entrance to this place like that. He goes, you're here training on it, but you don't have your Dream 100. Like on your phone, you got to find a way to do that. So it'll pop up when it's Lori's birthday. I reach out to you. So like I need, I know that's, and I'm saying that to you now, and I'm refreshing my brain for 2023. I'm articulating it. So in my book, by the way, the book that I was gifted to, thank you. Appreciate you, bud. He gave me this book. And on here, reach out to 3 strategic partners is number 4 on my productivity planner. So I literally reached out to Cameron, and I noticed at COO Alliance, Nate, I don't know if you're unmuted or in a safe place to do that, but I reached out to him today. I noticed you're connected to him.
Yep.
Did you?
I know.
How do you know him?
Met him at an event he spoke at. I think it was actually at Sang when we met.
Shut the hell up. He was at Speakers Up.
I think so. He was at that, or it was Yannick's event. Way back.
I bet you it was Sang because both Yannick was at our event here. So like, hey, could you send him a nice little DM and say, hey, I was on Ted's Business Breakthrough Community session today. It's the thing he does. It's kind of like a podcast, but more interactive. And he mentioned your name today as someone he really respects. He said he reached out to you today, and then give him, without me telling you what to say, I want you to give him a genuine, heartfelt testimonial, whatever it is you think of me, just like a sentence statement, and just press the send button on that. Because I realized is that guy doesn't know me from Adam, Nate. Doesn't know me at all. He thought I was hitting him up for coaching. I said, hey, I'm kind of curious. Do you have any coaching? Like one-on-one coaching. I was asking if he had coaching staff, and he replied, and he said, I do coaching. I'm like, oh, so he owns a job? I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I was like, no, I thought you kind of knew what I do. So I asked him, like, do you have coaching? Because I want to bolt on my coaching to that guy's program. Like, George, this guy's already training the second in commands. Like, I'm selling to CEOs. But as I've grown, some of the new product offerings, when you grow a company and you start taking market share, one of the fast growth strategies is not just add more water, watch grow of new client acquisition. It's take a new product and enter into a marketplace. And the greatest new product I've had as of late that's grown faster than any is executive coaching, which is basically chief operating officer, or what you might call your second in command, because you guys are all making up these new names. You're ditching the traditional name. Chief excitement officer, people pleaser instead of HR, like whatever the hell you call second in command. That's what this guy does. And every client I've worked with that has been easiest to work with, they've already gone through his program. So I could genuinely tell him, like, I love your work without ever seeing your work, because I've seen it on the front lines of capitalism with my clients. And when when we're talking about executing and implementing, they're just so easy to work with because you've done this thing that I don't know what he's conditioning in their mind's eye, but it makes it easy to implement my proven strategies in their environments. I'd love to partner with him and get him out of trading dollars for hours. I don't know if it would ever happen, but he's in my Dream 100 now for 2023 because the radical client list that he has, meaning I'm a fan and I've never done his business. My other clients always speak positively. So I'm looking to find new affiliate strategic partners that I can work with that are doing the things I want to have, which is consistently building fans that become raving advocates for your brand. Because for me to do that, like I told you early on, I hid underneath the light of brilliant minds because they had experience, they had knowledge I didn't yet uncover on my own. So I did that. Now that I'm building my own brand, conundrum is not, people don't know who Ted Miller is yet. TM3 is not thing being flippantly said, but it won't be that long. I know how long because like I did that with Chet, and it was surprisingly fast how you go from like no one knows who you are to like a Z-level celebrity. Like meaning there's never a flight you take where someone doesn't at least acknowledge you once. Like it's real fast. It does not take long. And I've got that tenacity in me. So if any of you guys have great authors and speakers that are making positive impact on the world, let me know. he might, I would love to have that type of connection, but it was just so funny because I saw Nate, it's so funny. 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You're only 1 degree away from your best center of influence. Like
most of us are.
Well, I think we all are. It's just, I think most are intelligent, like you, Nate, highly intelligent man. So since you're highly self-aware and intelligent, I think we're really tough on ourselves. At least I know you, Nate, are tough on yourself because we have enough self-awareness through life experience to see all the ways we can fail. So we have a tendency to question ourselves because that's what we do. We take 100% accountability. But the conundrum in business is business responds to your degree of certainty you bring to the table. So you don't have the Dunning-Kruger or whatever the effect is that you're so stupid, you become hyper certain about your stupidity, right? Whatever that, excuse my ignorance on that name again, Dunning-Kruger, it's the psychology research that said if you're really ignorant, lack of knowledge of many subjects, then you become hyper certain about your stupidity and you speak it loud and proud, and people actually follow the stupid one because the other one who's in self-doubt goes out to the rest of the world because they're constantly thinking of themselves and, well, I don't know, maybe, and they talk like that and it doesn't sell and it doesn't sing, right? But it's our job is to adjust that state before we go present ourselves to the world. That's why the best minds in the world aren't always the most famous and the most known, because those that love to have the light shined on them, they chase the light. But as an effort for us to then go really add the great value of the world, we've got to emanate our own light, right? We're not looking for that reflection of stardom. You're just the recognizing that you are the emanator of that light that people are seeking. And you're just willing to put your neck out there, which means courage enough to be vulnerable about those insecurities. And people respect that even more than the arrogant person saying, I absolutely know, and I'm always right. That makes sense, gang, the distinction there? I didn't probably say it as good as the book that wrote Good to Great. I think he did a lot better job calling it Level 5 Leader than I just said it. I think he did it, better, but I mean, that's that point. Like I tracked a lot of Level 5 leaders, right? People don't think that I made up of that because I got really good at voicing my confidence loudly. Like my kids don't even understand me. My wife doesn't even understand me. I had to send a video to my wife for the day before date night because she's still trying to understand me after 20 years. And so I sent her this video. I said, hey, if you really want to understand me, I found this video on YouTube that explains it. Now we did ENTP, Myers-Briggs at NET Success 15 years ago. So I sent her this little detailed video and sent it to her. She said she half-heartedly listened to it. She found 3 reasons why I'm absolutely not like that. And she just shut that down. So I'm like, no, what do you do with that? You just smile and say, I love you, and you move on. But it's no, that's just like that. The conundrum you have with this particular persona that I have is you would keep to yourself. Well, I kept to myself until I was sleeping in my Dodge Ram Quad Cab pickup truck, and being broke sucked. So I just learned how to put myself out there. But I'm extroverted. So I like to be around people, but I learned to speak more to be heard, because in the Polish family, everyone would scream at each other. And only if you loved each other would you speak over the next person to say you loved each other. My wife thinks that's horrific, Greg. She thinks I'm an asshole, because in her family, respect is how you love each other. When you let one person speak at a time, she has her mother, her father, her brother. That's it. In her family, and her cousin Jimmy, and that's it. 4 people. Because if the uncle showed, that would be 5. Greg, could you fit your first cousins in your house that you live in now?
Hell no. Yeah. Polish folks?
Not even close. Not even close.
Our funerals were big deals, let alone the weddings are
massive.
350 people at my first wedding.
So we're always screaming and yelling out of love. We love each other enough. So I used a couple techniques that I learned from my family, which was be loud, but I was intelligent enough. I kept to myself, but I learned to express that voice, by hooking myself with masters, the best speakers in the world, Tony Robbins, the greatest salesman on the planet, alive at the time, Chet Holmes, super strategist, Jay Abraham. And I said, okay, I'm going to learn these skills that are not innately in me, because if I don't, I'm not going to make the positive impact. And it's not, it's not alignment of who I see my identity as. I just see myself as a growing identity. Like I never see that I have to kill off my old piece of my identity to become something new. I just see myself as growing, and I'm maturing into that. And some of that's getting refined now that I'm getting older, even though my hair is growing back, thanks to that product. It's still growing gray. And, so I'm learning a few things. So I'm polishing off those outer edges that would ruffle some people. But also I recognize the bigger the impact and the more I'm shining my light, the more haters I'm getting. I won't share it now because this is a public environment. But if any of you guys want to know, I could tell you last time I went over tears in my own business was one of my mentors saying something malicious about me. And I thought I was alone. Until late last night, I stumbled across a video of Elon Musk tearing up because the astronauts totally poo-pooed his idea of traveling to space. The men that he totally idolized choked him up and stopped him in his tracks. And I was like, oh my God, I really relate to that. I was like, that just happened to me. It's like Scotty Walker calling you the worst thing that's ever happened, right? That would hit you hard, right? I don't know who your people are, George. I'm just...
Oh, he would be one of them.
Who, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I had something like that just happened to me in the last couple months. But I realized that's who wouldn't do that, right? No lion does that to another lion unless they recognize they're the old dog on the way out and that's the new one up. No one wants to go out easy. Or whatever it is. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's just old age. Maybe it's that. I don't know. All I know is, man, we have great opportunities to do fantastic things. There's always faster growing strategies out there. The easiest of them all to grow the fastest with the least amount of effort is leveraging strategic partners that have already huddled the great masses. Right? If you were a Boy Scout like me, you had to go sell some stuff, right? Girls had to go sell the cookies. The boys had their thing they had to go sell. And, I was just like, my family didn't have the money to buy the leftover M&Ms. That makes sense. So I didn't have the luxury of just having the family buy my way into the trip to Six Flags Great America. I just had to figure out where in the hell did they go? Right? Where are you going when you go buy candy? When are you in the frame of mind that you're buying candy? Where do you go? Now it's Amazon, right? But where do you go? When we were kids, where would your family go to get candy? Think about it. Where was it? When your mom, the grocery store. So all I had to do, get to the freaking grocery store. I'm selling M&Ms like crazy. Hey, help me get to Six Flags. Hey, thanks. Hey, you want to buy 2 or 3 more? Hey, thanks. Hey, by the way, because they're already in the frame of mind, like I'm here to buy some food. So now that's been played out. You've seen that over the last decades. But early on in, what was the name? Oh, Strachan Van Tills in Cherville, Indiana, US 1341. That was an original idea to go pimp out M&Ms for my Boy Scout troop. It's just huddled masses. Strachan Van Tills didn't care that I was there. I wasn't taking that much wallet share out of their pocket. I don't even know if they sold M&Ms back then. I assume they did, but they weren't hating on me, right? Because I'm just a local kid just trying to make his way to Six Flags Great America. That makes sense? Just work smarter, not harder kind of thing. It's a great approach. Anyone got a great story do you want to share on using this type of methodology that might give a little bit of excitement and insight for someone else? No?
I always have a story.
All right, give one.
I was meeting with somebody the other day that wanted to, one of the things I've always done, and you've always done, I know, is when someone asks to meet, I meet, right? If someone wants a call, I take a call. It doesn't matter why. It drives my wife crazy. Well, why'd you meet them? Well, because they asked. Okay, I'll do that. So I sold a house, and there was a young mortgage broker who went first time kind of going through his first sale. And I helped him along with some things, even though I'm new in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, hey, Greg, let's go. If you got time, I'd like to meet you for a beer.
Mm-hmm.
So we sat down in Lake Oswego and had a beer. And he's just asking me, hey, why'd you meet me? I go, well, and I told him a story. I'll always meet you. I'll always say yes. But one of the things he asked me about was what happened in your restaurants? What distinguished you? I go, it was the people I hired. It was the people that thought on their own, didn't come to me for all the answers every day. I knew that they were doing it because that's who they were, not because of what I was telling them. And a classic example is that Coke ticked me off when I moved into my new restaurant. So I went with Pepsi. I don't care. I don't drink soda, right? What do I care? Mm-hmm. So when someone walked in my place, someone would ask for Coke. My staff would go, oh, I'm so sorry, we carry Pepsi. And the person would ordinarily just say, I'll have water then. Right away, that person knew to signal someone in the restaurant to go up the street a half block, grab a bottle of Coke, come back into the restaurant, pour the Coke in a glass with some ice and give it to them. And of course, the customer would always say, well, why'd you do that? And they would invariably say, because I wanted to, and you wanted Coke. And just something as small as that. Mm-hmm. When I told this story to the guy, he goes, that's amazing. And I was doing something like this 25, 30 years ago, for God's sakes. He went ahead and sent me a little thank you card. And he also sent me a bottle of Coke. How nice is that? So for me,
super nice.
Passing the story on, that someone then uses that technique without being prodded to, tells me that legacy will move forward. It'll pay it forward somehow.
So true. And you do meet. You said, hey, bud, you said, hey, hope you're doing well. It'd be great to grab a beer and coffee. You said, I do that too. It's because I said, yep. Hey, if you're not living in Fiji, like we were back in the day, I was like, hey, where you live? Lake Oswego. By the end of this text, we were meeting that night.
That's right.
I looked at it October 19th of this year.
That's funny.
We met that night in Lake Oswego.
I have a good story.
That was like a quick turnaround. You just say yes. Because,
Oh, yeah.
You've never had great outcomes by saying no, right?
Right.
Yeah. Great yeses. That's fantastic. Nate, how about you?
Yeah,
you do as good as anyone with great strategic partnerships. I've now, right? I know. I've watched you.
Well, I was in the mortgage business for about 8 years, kind of coming out of college, and grew into one of the top, loan officers in all of Utah, where I was at, and got it heavy into real estate and so forth. And I was transitioning out of that right before 2008, and I had gone to an event at Jay Abraham's, but I just started to learn about, and I'd gone through this like joint venture strategic partner program he had, this group training, and spent a year learning about ways to think different, right? Mm-hmm. So kind of fast forward, I left that industry. I was starting my new industry. Then the market crashed and got a little hairy for a few minutes. And I was trying to figure out the internet, just like, how do I leverage this thing called the internet? I had not really done anything on the space. And so I started this little consulting practice. And I was like, I want to leverage other people's tribes. What's the best way to do that? Now, it's like commonplace today with podcasts. It wasn't as much so then in 2008, 2009. And I had this, so I set up this little generic company called Business Success Unlimited. It was terrible. The whole company, the whole business idea was terrible. But what was really, really good was that I had a network from college that was like kind of this elite sports kind of business network. And if I used a certain headline, they would respond in 24 hours. Well, I was able to invite them to doing a guest interview, but I didn't have what do I pitch for them to want to do an interview with me that I could record. And so then I called my buddy. I said, hey, if I get these leading executives and billionaires, would you share it with your network? Mm-hmm. And one of the guys, if you remember Larry Jenkin from back in the day, Ted.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Larry had this podcast network of 150,000 people. I had a bunch of connections on LinkedIn at this point, or no, I had nothing. It was all his network. And I would just say, hey, I've got a podcast network that I can share and distribute to 150,000 people. Would you do an interview with me for my website? Oh yeah, of course. I got a billionaire. I got the CMO of Coca-Cola. I got the CEO of Tom's Shoes. I got all of these conversations to give me third-party credibility for this startup young kid that knew literally nothing in what I was going into. And I had one of the most extraordinary podcast series for about 6 months. And then I started to get clients, and it was amazing. And I thought that was a really great way to leverage external networks to effectively borrow their tribe without having to set up a true affiliate program.
Where did you meet Larry at? Was that the
that was at Jay's event.
Jay
Abraham's event. Yeah.
I just sent him a text saying, thanks for being a cool guy. I always that you just told that story. So give him a nice little shout out. He's good
Larry
like that.
He built that thought leadership marketing program. I helped him market it on LinkedIn for a good year or so. And then we ended up, friend and his friends, but I ended up starting my own business after that. And it was really cool. Yeah, it's great.
Really, how fast the speed, this success loves speed, but success loves connections, right? When you're looking at, like earlier, I quoted Peter Drucker, management's doing the right things. Well, some of the right things to do, like if you're going to find a meme about his quotes, somewhere is probably going to show like 10% this, 10% that, 30% this. One of the 30% is going to be like relationships. Like when it comes to doing the right things, taking the time to foster those relationships. So I'm not sending the Christmas cards because of being reminded of a great story that was not even his story. Harvey Mackay told the story of it's like a Christian evangelist that he liked a lot. He was huge, the biggest one of all time. What's that guy's name? No, like old school, dude.
Oh,
Billy
the old
Graham.
school way.
Billy
Billy
Graham.
Graham.
That when he sent the letters, he didn't send the Christmas cards, because everyone sent Christmas cards. So he sent Easter cards. That I think he picked this up from Graham, and he sent Easter cards, and he said, I think this is in his book. He said that 70% of the people he sent the handwritten Easter card to returned another card with handwritten thank you card for the Easter card. So when's the last time one of your thank you cards got another handwritten thank you card in return? You're just not that creative. All he did was pick better timing. Everybody's sending Christmas cards. You don't respond to them all. If you like them, stick them on the wall. If not, you just stick it in the recycling bin. Easter, though, no one sent an Easter. He just found a more unique time to do it. Right? So New Year's. Like right now, all my stuff is shaping in for 2023. I'm just waiting for the wave out of just the holidays to go by so I can go straight into the New Year thing and not get lost in the Christmas thing. So I'm still sending it. I'm just waiting a week, and doing a New Year spin. Right? Because not that many cards for New Year's, but it's kind of, it's in alignment to business. It's not that cool though. I mean, it's not that cool for like handwritten, Thanksgiving, but it's like, I'm always thinking like that. Like, how can I get a more unique, fresh way? One thing that's never gone out of style though is handwritten cards. So I just got the new cards in. They're not great. Like they're just not that great. They're just good enough. Because frankly, some of your clients, to some degree, you got to pick a price you're going to spend on each client, right? Otherwise, we'd all go broke pouring all of our love into our clients. So we just went and got a real cheap thing, right? But look, the edges are rounded. I like that. That was just, my wife made that happen, and then and it just says the thing. And so I handwrite their name and I handwrite mine. So it has energy of me pouring into it by handwriting their name and signing my name on it. Fundamentally, at least minimally, I can do that instead of nothing at all, because I've gone too long without doing enough of that on my very intro level programs.
So Ted, I use Audience.
Yeah.
for handwritten.
So you have someone else do it, right?
Well, but it's yes.
But it's handwritten. Yeah. So for me, I'm a bit a hippy dippy kind of esoteric weird dude. Like energetically, I want my energy on it. So I write, like I used to just do the return address, all hand, including my handwritten note. And I've never regretted that. And I don't think I've ever done better than that. And because it was the best that's ever worked, I've just never let go of that idea that I need to get my hand on it in some way, shape, or form. Because I don't know, I don't understand what that is, but it could be a total bullshit, by the way. So there's a place for automation, right? There's a place for automation. That's why we got to decide. And maybe I need to do that for prospects that aren't spending money with me. Maybe the people that should be spending money with me, maybe I could be sending them congratulation cards. Mind you, mine said congratulations, not thank you. I got to correct every single time this gets printed up. I say congratulations, they delete it and say thank you because they think I want to say thank you. This is one of the oldest school trainings, things we talk about all the time, is just the positioning of the word congratulations. I want to honor the mastery that the entrepreneur is committed to, because I'm clear on my avatar and the psychographics of my avatar. I want to honor their commitment to mastery. So I start with congratulations. I do say thank you, but I thank them for committing, or if they're a prospect, in considering leveraging us to help in that endeavor. So I do say the word thank you, but I start with congratulations instead of thank you.
Hey, Ted.
Yes, sir.
Quick question.
Yes,
do you
sir.
have a QR code on that card to bring?
I don't. I gave it away to my wife. Helped me with this one because I still don't have an assistant after Colleen's gone. And she put in, which I've never done, so I'm trying it. It only has URLs, which you would have to type in.
Yeah.
To LinkedIn.
That's why it seems like that
Facebook
would lend itself to a quick QR code.
Yeah. Again, I've someone else wanted to do that. When I gift the things, I like to gift it. So when I gift a swag bag, like I really like the embossed. So at my higher price point, I want to put together my instead of sending the full 3-ring binder, that's freaking huge. That's like 3 inches thick, and it's heavy and it's expensive. I'm gonna send the leather bound. Like my client here, they had printed this. And I'm like, that's nice, but it's not as great as it could be. So I wanted this embossed. That's the word for, right? Like my leather seat in my Porsche has a logo embossment, like the Porsche symbol. So I just saw that in my Porsche. I'm like, I want that on my thing. So in our book, and then I can do the 3 rings inside. So everyone can take their handwritten notes while they're going through the Business Mastery Transformation Program. They can take notes, and inside they'll have little tabs that go to each segment, which is a module or content that I speak to, and they can do it. And there I want QR codes so they can jump into my video training. It's on my resource center. They can jump into, hi, Lori. They can jump into, sorry, George.
It's all right.
A little ADD moment. Saw your wife. I'm like, I get to say hi. They can jump into my free resources because I want to make it viral, like virality, like, so so the thank you is like, I want to love them. So I don't want to ask them to sell for me. So I don't do the barcode, but I'm willing to do the barcodes like crazy, or not barcodes, the QR codes for when it's intentionally marketing stuff. And that's my swag bag stuff. So I want the embossed pen, the embossed the 8.5 by 11 thing that holds all my notes together, and with the QR codes to be able to jump straight to it. So you guys know what the QR codes are. You just take your camera, point it to it, and it automatically gives you a hyperlink that you tap, and it launches that page. Yeah, Rod, you're so right about that. Like this package right here. This is chapter 4, the new edition of the book. And Amanda had a bunch of these printed, and she wanted to give these out, but she didn't have a QR code. She had a sign she was carrying on her back. So she's a walking billboard. And I'm like, but how would they get it? Well, they'd have to walk up to me. They'd have to do this. I said, put a QR code on it. So she finally succumbed to the QR code. The biggest direct response element was the QR code. More people went up and just zapped the QR code and went to the page and downloaded it than they wanted to go grab and carry this damn thing around.
Well, the reason, part of the thing I'm thinking with you, how many souls are you trying to reach at any given time? Like how many of those cards are you going to send out?
Oh, on the thank you card bits,
Yeah.
that one is for my UBBE purchases. So if I can do 100 of those next month, that's great.
Well,
Just 100.
Question for you, how hard would it be for you to personalize a real short intro to one of these videos? Send the card and say, hey, Nate, click this QR code for a personalized message from me to you. Nate, I want you to watch this video. It's pertinent to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Hey, Nate, would that get any traction with you?
So a handwritten letter that has a QR code that so there's a double dipper, Nate, that not only do you get a handwritten letter from me, you also get a QR code to my private message where I say, Nate, and I say basically what's in the handwritten card.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it is truly authentic. Like the ones that really drive me crazy is when there's some of the guys in the space that we're talking about will send to me off like a birthday message, like it's personalized, but it's not.
But it's not personalized.
It's just like, hey, just wanted to wish you a happy birthday.
But it's not personalized.
There's no name, there's no context to our relationship. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cool. But
marketers ruin all good things.
Yeah. It
Because
creates
they
more
take a good
inauthenticity.
idea and they spam it.
They're trying to scale it, right? And there's not a really great way to do that.
That's why it's called
authentically.
spam.
Yep. So, but if you're really taking the time for a video just to talk, and you had a QR code and a handwritten note, that'd be really good.
Because then I'm saying it to Nate specifically. Yeah, I noticed in the marketing space, people that are trying to still do the spam thing is they're like, hey, have you noticed my photoshopping skills? I pretended, like I wrote your name on the, on the whiteboard, and they'd hold up a letter and it would miraculously have it as if you wrote a handwritten letter to them. And it went like this, and it said, hi, Nate. And it had a personalized message. It said, hey, I photoshopped this in there of your name. Isn't that neat? Just to call themselves out so it still works, because otherwise it's an ultimate rapport breaker. Like pretend that they're so stupid they don't recognize it. But Rod, that's a really good point on the video. And I'm going to take that to heart because of the thing I heard from my second in command. She told me, I've worked for you for 2 years and I never understood your intent till I saw you in person today. Worked with me for 2 years and she thought I was an asshole because of my voice. She saw me in person. She goes, I can see in your eyes. She goes, the windows of their soul. I can see your intent now. So thank you, Rosina. That's going to make me want to do exactly that, because Rod, sometimes they just don't get it. Right? They just don't get it until they can see your body language for some reason. And
you're really good at videos. That's why it makes sense for you.
Yeah, well, I love doing that because that can go out quick and fast. And that's maybe where I can go to Greg if I burn off the video, and then I don't mind that they handwritten their name, because it'll feel like maybe I personalized it. Because if I went so far to make a personalized video, that's where I can have it personalized from another company. What was so could put it in the chat for me, please, Greg, so those that watch this later when I post it onto YouTube and the podcast, I get to have a resource link for it. Greg, can you put it in the chat feature?
The handwritten note company.
Yeah, audience. I'll put it in there for you.
Is it audience.com? Was that Greg?
Cool.
I'll put it in there right now.
All right. Yeah, I want to make sure that everyone gets that, because there's so many tools out there, a million of them that they use. I found that all the tools that I use, it kind of doesn't matter which one you use. Every time I promote a tool that I'm using, they hate that I say that, but it's the truth. Audience.ca, because I could use any tool. I think, just ineffectively using a mildly decent tool consistently is exponentially going to give a greater rate of return than the perfect tool rarely being used.
That's all it is consistency over perfection. You know, it's don't let perfection be the enemy of the good, right? 51% is better than 49.
Yeah. That perfection becomes the enemy of progress altogether because it never gets done. Like the idea that perfection, right? That goes back to perfection is the worst standard. And that's the conundrum we have for those that are drawn to me is they're committed to being a master. And, so they're striving towards that perfection. And, it's, you got to be willing to put out the mediocre video. Like you got to be willing to put out because the conundrum is you're always judging your personal work from the most enlightened place you've ever been at, the most matured place you've ever been at. But I guarantee you, if you listened to you 10 years ago, like 10 years, that you'd like go back 10 years, have you listen to what you're saying today, you're going to think highly of yourself and you're going to go, that shit's good. So you can't be judging the quality of your content because it's always filtered from your own personal perspective. And that is selfish. When you're in service to another human being, you drop that filter of self. Don't look at that as a mirror. Turn that window into a window from a mirror, right? There's a time and a place to do the mirror. So you self-reflect to show up. But when you do show up, turn it into a window and be affixed on projection, be affixed on the people that are listening, and just stop worrying about the fact that I say hell, shit, and ass. Stop worrying about what that one guru said, right? Like you just somewhere you got to recognize because none of that is going to matter because reality is once you start getting on a roll, like you get more of those. No matter how good of a job you do, you're going to get a hater. You're going to get a victim, a complainer. Like, you're just going to get the bigger impact you have, just more squeaks you're going to have within your organization. And then frankly, if you've got your organization really tight where everything's humming, you're probably not pushing hard enough. You're probably not leaning in enough. You're not stressing your operations enough. I know I drove my 911 like a badass this year. Because something's wrong. Something's wrong with my wastegate this year. Like I finally got good enough. It took me 2 years to get good enough in my car to finally get it to where I was leaning in that hard. And it's pretty hard to drive a 911 to its limit. You got to be doing serious track time to really push it to that limit. But the old dog started doing this weird thing. I don't know what it is. I got to send it off my guys. Hopefully they got to figure it out, but it's falling on its face when I'm at about like 0.5 up to 1.0 bar. Any of you guys know what a bar is in pounds per square inch or something? It's a measurement, a boost, but I don't understand bar. Any of you guys smart people? Nope. I don't know. What bar is. It's that metric stuff I never learned. What was that, Rod?
Google will find it for you.
Google will find it for me. I don't know what bar is, right? I just know what I understand the concept of it, but bar was never in my studies. George is freakishly smart guy here. I'd probably say he's probably the smartest one out of us. If you guys want to just know right now, like that guy, wicked smart. Like I went to his house and I just could walk around and I could just things that he in his home. We started talking about and I was in excruciating pain, but I was able to, I was able to just ask enough questions to realize like that guy's really thought through things that most people don't think through to that degree. Whatever happened to that visual? I always think of your damn Troidale Field and the numeric values you gave to that type of thing, because I was really big into holographic universe and the projection of our physical manifestation. And you had a physical representation of it for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did you do that? Like, I've only been thinking about this for the last year and you had it. Like, whatever happened to that damn thing? Did you just end up throwing it away? It's what?
It's in storage.
It's in storage?
Yeah. But
did you ever make it into like a cartoon or like a third dimensional like film that?
I did a presentation on it and then I rebroadcast it just this last year.
Did you really? Is it a paid thing? Do I got to pay to see it? Because I like this.
I know some people that can hook you up. I'm trying to find a picture for everybody here. So this is
There's the ball.
The toroid, and there's a Mobius strip that I explained positive and negative numbers on.
Do you guys remember watching Guardians of the Galaxy, and they got to go back at Thanos, and at the last ditch effort, he inverts a Mobius strip as a way to be able to travel through time. Anyhow, I'm just correlating to some people who are like, you just put them to sleep there, George.
Yeah, it's the fun stuff, but thank you. You're very kind of you to say that. I feel very intelligent in certain areas of my life. And then I hear you talking about sales and marketing and all this. And like I said in the text of the day, I'm such a noob, man. I feel like I'm growing on this stuff, man. I'm listening to as much as I can, watching as many of the videos that you have on your platform as well as on YouTube, and just learning, man. I'm just learning what to do.
Well, never forget that you don't have to become something new to be great at this. I'm forcing you to embrace it, where other people like, stay in your lane, don't waste your breath there. You're too small of an organization to do that. And I think it's in your best interest to comprehend it enough, because here's why. When you go to delegate this marketing and selling to somebody as your company is growing fast, not scaling, but growing, and you go to delegate it, you won't be able to manage that if you can't at least comprehend that. Does that make sense, George? Like, Absolutely. From a complete state of ignorance, it's going to be hard to know if someone else is going to drive our company into the ground because we're ignorant of it. So I only invite you to do it. It's sweat equity, but man, you're going to get sweat. You're going to pay a bigger price in the negative outcome of not being able to sell the best damn healing technique on the planet. Like my client, I got to tell you, great stories right here. Body Code. This guy is crushing it. He's on fire. My daughter did an emotion code technique the other day. I helped him sell this thing like crazy. Crack his code. He was going along, him and Han here. Like, that guy has ran with that. I'm like, what? My wife's like, yeah, my partner, you ever hear of this thing called Body Code? I'm like, yeah, you mean like Bradley Nelson? Yeah, we helped that guy. She's like, oh my God, that's the same stuff. Like, I thought that was emotion code. I'm like, Body Code is just another thing of it. She's like, oh my gosh, well, your daughter did a Body Code thing this morning because she had some trauma the day before. And I was like, good for her. Like, it's amazing. Like, that guy was like you, George. But, sweat equity over a short period of time. I think we spent 7 months of humping together, like really grinding it out. Like, when he came into our the venue when I was at Robert Allen's, I lock him in a room. He'd go toe to toe with me all night, 12, 14-hour long days. Like, his wife is falling asleep, at the diner, and we're still going to business. So that was paying a price, right? But it's 7 months of his life. What's he live like now? He's flying around in his private $2 million plane that has the parachute. So if shit hits the fan, he can float down. That guy, that's a pretty good deal. Like, right, Rod? Like, Rod lives at a hangar. He knows money. So he understands the class of money. Like, that's where I'm not at that money yet, but that's my pictures here. I got the boat and I got the plane, I like those things. I'm not against things. I don't collect a lot of things. In fact, Frank Kern once called me the biggest tight ass he ever met in his life, because I just laugh at him, like, for all the things he was spending money on. And he married up too. I married up big time. My wife's so gorgeous. His was like a Miss California or Miss Universe or something like that. And so he lived in LA. So he thought he had to live the LA life. So he came up with like a G. I forgot what the Mercedes wagon is thing, but one of those G things.
Yep, G.
But I'm like, man, that's like 3 times more expensive than my Porsche. I was like, it ain't that much better. Like, it's a square box. It's not even. The Cayenne could arguably consider to be ugly. The Panamera's hideous back end, but the Cayenne's not that pretty of a back end. And, I'm just like, yeah, and mine. And he goes, well, how old's yours? I was like, 2006 or something. He's like, what? He's like, well, I got 3 Rolls Royce. I go, yeah, but when's the last time you drove it? I was just like, so yeah, I recognize I'm a bit of Titus. And I told him, I said, because I've been broke. So I know I'm a little bit of a Titus, but I'm willing to spend some of that money when I want to have some fun.
Hey,
Ted got a call in a minute. Got to go. Sorry.
Hey, you got to go, man. It's
That was
4:30.
fun.
Blessings to you, man. I'll catch you on the flip side.
Nice
Cheers.
seeing you, Greg.
All right, hey, everyone. Catch you guys
Yeah,
on the
one
flip
more
side. Thanks for
you.
staying late.
Ted, one more thing for
Yes.
you.
Yeah, what's that?
I found the calculation. 100 PSI is 6.9 bar. Whatever that
So
means.
it's 6.9 bar to 100 PSI.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
It says what you do is take PSI and multiply it by 0.068948. Which, now how to flip that around, you just have to do a little work with an equation, but but basically if it's 10 bar, then it's something, it's like 150, 180 pounds PSI. The wonders of Google, man.
So what's that? 15 pounds per square inch or something. Yeah. So I'll
No, I
look it
don't-
up. So yeah, my boost. So my turbos stop at 10 bar because I'll burn up my clutch if I produce, if I'm going over 600 or 600 horsepower, that standard clutch that came in the 996 Porsche will just get blown up. So my car never produces quite on the dyno. It never quite hit 500. So I know I'm well below it.
Yeah.
So my son's like, hey, if you got to replace those turbos, why don't you just go like, I'm like, well, because, you didn't have to pay the $6,200 to go replace that clutch. You know what I mean? I just don't, it's the time out of like driving the car. It's not the $1,600. It's the freaking 2 months to get it repaired. You got to get a part, you got to get in a line. Everyone wants to fix their cars. Crimea River, right? First world problems. All right.
Hey, buddy,
So
are we on next week?
yeah, I believe we're on next week. I don't have any conflicts through the holidays because next week is the 21st. So, yeah. I love it. And by the way, George, I appreciate you being here. I mean, I know we get together on Fridays. This is what I'm doing as an effort for free to next to free. The only reason I wanted you to be here is if you wanted to look at ways you could find to be consistently adding value to your clients.
Absolutely.
And I came up with the Business Breakthrough Community as a distinction from a podcast, because a podcast meant I would only had you and I would have talked to you the whole time. I put groups of entrepreneurs in so we can have a little bit more cross chatter, more interactivity.
Right.
But just find the thing that you love. It's only one day a week. It's usually only an hour, but this was made up of like people that every single person here I want to be more like. So like every single one of you guys here were people I admire. So I'll keep you on as long as you're willing to stay on.
Hey, George, show up next
Thank
week,
you,
buddy. I
Ted.
love your beard, man.
Yeah. Appreciate you. I'll see you next week. All right,
See you,
George.
Ted.
Catch you on
Thank
flip
you.
side, man. Later.
All right, take care. Love to the family.
All right, you bet. Peace. Bye.
Thank you. Bye now.